The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And this is Andy, and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
And here we are, live and in person and in Technicolor. Here we are.
Woo!
Well, first off, before we even start the show, we've got to get to the most important pressing issue of the day. Andy, we need the vote results from the helmet draft.
Yeah, it's a good. Let me pull that up. So I was actually, last time I checked on these, it's been a couple of days. I was a little surprised. And not disappointed, just surprised. You again, you know, this is what I get for putting this in the hands of the voters. And, okay, so here are the results. There was only 2 questions. For the worst helmet draft, the person who had the fewest votes for the worst draft was yours truly, so that's good. With I can't even see the percentage, so small. It looks like 4.5%. Zach had 9.1% of the votes. Not bad.
I'm already ready to tell everybody to fuck off, but go ahead.
Greg, then 22.7% of the votes, and leading the way for those for people who believe the worst draft, the worst helmet draft belonged to. That was Mike by an overwhelming margin. 63% felt that he had the worst helmet draft.
Well, I take it back. I'm not going to tell you.
I don't really know why, but that's just...
I don't either. I thought we all did pretty well. I wouldn't have known who to vote for.
For the best helmet draft by a mile, the team that was number 1, 68% of the votes was Greg. The Knoxville Protocols actually. Yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome.
All right, the listeners are back in my good graces again, but it probably won't last.
Zach, Zach, and Mike pretty much. Mike had 3 for best, Zach 4, I had 7, and Greg 30. A whopping. It wasn't even close.
Oh, and I didn't even cheat. I swear I didn't. I was going to. But...
All of his helmets have the same thing.
Yeah,
you boring people. You boring group of idiots.
I mean,
I love you one and all.
It was never close either. I mean, I think that it just kind of took off pretty quickly. And
all I can say, boys, is class never goes out of style. Just gonna say.
I'm just gonna say if any team ever in college, pro, otherwise, puts out a helmet that doesn't have a stripe and a decal on it, you all better hate it.
I wonder.
This is stupid.
I wonder if our show got like picked up by like. Old West magazine or something. Because I mean, Jesus.
AARP ran a story.
Like,
that's what it was.
Equestrians Monthly or something picked it up.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was big in Texas too for some reason because I have like 4 Texas helmets on my list. I don't remember now.
Like a cowboy horse Texas theme was your general. It just kind of worked out.
Never die.
I think
that's hilarious for all the shit you guys gave me, and I won in a walk. That's beautiful.
You had the westernmost helmet possible with the Hawaiians, and then you have the Falcons, which is technically the end. Is this because of the deer thing? By the way, I felt like my helmet selections were quite strong, and I feel like the discrimination against the lethal deers of the experimental league in Japan. This is racism that has occurred in this selection. I have no doubt about it.
Andy, you still could have picked that helmet last and had it.
You could have picked
it. Yeah, I could have just not drafted a helmet for like 3 days, and it would probably have been picked up.
You could draft it right now. You can take it. It'll still be on the board.
I could just in like 10 years, I could just randomly shout out in the middle of the show, be like, Lixilteers, I picked them, and people, what the fuck is the matter with
I think
you?
the line of the show last week was when Zach asked you, "Do you really think that we were going to take that one away from you?"
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, hey, Greg, congratulations. I guess you win.
I can't even name Greg's teams. They don't exist. They're like generic Madden created teams.
You know what won me the draft? Simple as that. Was the Oakland Invaders and the Houston Gamblers. It was over from that point forward. And you guys now it's proof. I don't even know what to say. All this coming on the heels of my unexpected GTOV victory. I'm just having a hell of a month here.
Say it's been your year, man. 2021 has been your year.
Well, what a great time to have a year.
Well, I'm glad we all survived the giant Chinese rocket booster thing. By the way,
they did not fall on anyone. That's
science is amazing. For like 2 weeks, I read about this when they first picked it up, that it was like, oh yeah, no, this thing could crash anywhere, just somewhere on the planet Earth between here and there, and it'll hit. And it's like, really? It's like, yeah, it might go over some population centers, could hit them. Who knows? Like, what do you mean? How do you not know where this thing's? Don't you have algorithms and? Well,
I mean, they
science.
They couldn't track it for like a better part of a week. It's just going in orbit so damn fast that there's just no way. All they knew was that it'd be south of New York and higher than Australia. So it was just this giant swath of Earth that was eligible for it to crash, and thankfully most of that was ocean. And it
makes me believe that Armageddon, the movie, is less and less probable than initially thought.
You think?
Because if they can't track one piece of space junk, how are they supposed to track the trajectory of asteroids missing the planet when you split in half with a nuke?
Well, that was half the hand in Armageddon. This is China we're talking about here.
Also true.
Yeah. They did say that it was possible for them to have shot it out of the sky or out of orbit. That was a possibility, but the reason you wouldn't want to do that is twofold. A, there is so much fucking space junk in an orbit around Earth right now anyway, with necessary being employed satellites and telecommunications devices and all this other crap. But then there's if you blow this thing up, it just infinitely cascades throughout space, and
a lot of it's going to stay in orbit, the pieces,
right? So you'd have part of it just linger in orbit, you'd have a shrapnel essentially, then the rest would just infinitely blast throughout the universe.
Sure. But it'd be a show of force. any alien life form would be like, oh shit, they can blow things out of space now.
It'd be the equivalent of when the Texans, the state of Texas, was about to get hit by a hurricane many years ago, and some guy photographed himself out in the yard shirtless with a shotgun, about to shoot the storm, just to
I heard that actually worked, so good for him, I guess. I'm gonna blast this fucker right out the sky. I just want to say I'm going to go ugly American and ugly Canadian and ugly North American basically for a minute here.
Sure.
When we launch a rocket over here, say take SpaceX for example, not only do we know when it's coming down, the fucker lands on a barge, no problem.
Oh, dude, have you the thing with the engines from SpaceX coming back down and landing vertically? That is the coolest.
I just want to let Greg know that you need to apologize for your comments, or our marketing and our marketing in the glorious People's Republic of China could become
I sort of pissed him off somewhere else along the way. So I'm just going to say, with SpaceX, NASA launches something like the space shuttle came down every time except once, and that wasn't its fault really. But Apollo, blasted fucker, sent them all the way to the moon 6 times, came back. And you know what? When they landed, there were ships that are waiting for them. They're going to put right about there. China's well, fuck. I hope it doesn't hit anything. I mean, just saying. Welcome to the space program in 1957, China.
We need to
go yet. And not even that. At least, even the Soviets had a rough idea where their ship was going to land.
Yeah, I don't like to give them any credit, but I will because
Russia has more space for it to hit and not do any damage to anything. So
no, but Mike's right. I mean, they didn't do splashdowns; they landed on land, but they pretty much knew where they were coming down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They can hit it anywhere in Siberia and be like, yeah, we'll find it.
Eventually.
I'm gonna have to get on the phone with LeBron's PR team so we can clear up this China mess. I mean, we have to make this right. We're losing millions.
Can we just say the Trey Parker and Matt Stone China apology where we
I mean, we can't mention Hong Kong. We certainly can't do that. That's
unfortunate.
I mean,
No, we would never mention that the people of Hong Kong have a right to democracy. We would never say that.
I would never ever agree with a sentiment like the people of Hong Kong have a right to democracy. So does Taiwan, and so does all the other, everybody really. But I'd never say that.
We're all going to get very angry letters from Ferdinand, by the way, just so you know.
Well, good.
They will be handwritten, they'll be typed up
in Esperanto, and we won't be able to read it. So it's fine.
Like you have to read 35 pages anyway. But
I'm getting a phone call from China. Hold on a second. Yeah, I know. We're sorry.
No, we're not.
Hello. Yeah. So we're banned in China.
Oh,
that was LeBron.
Okay, can he explain why Space Jam 2 looks like colorful vomit?
He had to go. He's following up on the whole Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez reunion thing. He's
well-known international diplomat, LeBron James.
He's there with Dennis Rodman, just making things happen.
I mean, I never understood why LeBron James felt that he had, authority to speak up on that whole China situation. It's not like he is a designated global ambassador like Drake is.
That's a fair point. I have to go along with Mike on that. Drake has the weight of the title behind him, where LeBron doesn't. So there you go.
Did global ambassador Drake win a round or two in the GTOV he was in?
He was in it. I think I think he might have won his first round matchup. He didn't go far.
Well, I was just curious. I couldn't remember if he had a quiet little run or not, but
I thought he did okay. Maybe Sweet 16. I don't remember. Man, those things all just kind of blend together at this point, and it's hard to remember.
We'd be remiss if I wanted to get Greg's full colorful thoughts on the Kentucky Derby. Was it the Kentucky Derby that went down?
Yeah, Kentucky Derby.
There's Saturday.
Medina Spirit is the winning horse, and it apparently the horse won and then tested positive for a steroid and
an anti-inflammatory.
Right. Yes. And
what is it, like 21 picograms, which apparently is 1/1000th of a gram?
Well, so I was trying to find some different math. So basically, like the minimum threshold for testing for for that drug is like 11 picograms or something, and it had 21. So essentially, they talked about it like it was he took 3 or 4 aspirin instead of 2, something like that. Like it's really marginal.
Right.
But that's not the deal. Like Greg in our text chat, Greg is like hurling papers off his desk saying all the fucking horses cheat.
They do.
No, the way I heard it talked about today was that basically every horse does this, but they just do it in a better timeline so it washes out of the system.
So is this like the Deflate Gate where it's like, yeah, Tom Brady deflated footballs, but like all quarterbacks do, he just got caught?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean
I think it's not bad.
Apparently doping is rampant in horse racing.
Yeah, like I said, this like always blows my mind because I am only like vaguely aware of horse racing most of the time,
which is fine.
But like it's always sort of been there, and then shit like this happens where I find out that it's been full of like cheating and malcontents the entire goddamn time.
Well, the guy who the trainer Bob Baffert, who's the most successful trainer of all time, I guess.
Quite a character.
He's quite a character, but like he's had 5. This is his 5th violation in the last 12 months, and he's had 30 in his career. So it's not like, and I guess any horse trainer of any sort of renown has something on their record at some point. just because it's just the way the sport works.
That's
so it's
just,
kind of like,
I don't know. Like, it doesn't that seem broken? It's like, oh yeah, no, any renown has done a little cheating. Come on.
Yeah, it's like every NFL player's got a little bit of human growth hormone. Come on, what's the big deal?
Well,
every NFL player.
The thing that I find so weird about even talking about it, it's like we're not talking about blood doping in the same way we do like
a cleaner
the
sport,
Russian Olympic team
or the Tour
Lance Armstrong, or
Right.
It's like you're talking about giving a horse painkillers. It like a horse, which I understand is the athlete of said sport in its own way, and they're impressive animals and they're mighty, but like it's just a weird conversation that goes beyond like. It's just funny when ESPN is sitting there talking about it like it is an athlete got caught for doping, and it's like
the horse wasn't like, "Hey, tighten me up here, man. I need some drugs." I mean, the horse was standing there doing his thing.
It wasn't like
he said medicine laden piss, I think was the way you put it.
So the guy's excuse, the groomer's excuse or whatever, was that there was, I guess, one or two.
Oh, I heard this.
I don't know this whole story, but it basically like, so in the stall of the horse, there was, giant piles of hay for it to eat. And that one groomer in particular, was like chugging cough medicine and saturated a pile of hay with piss, and that the horse subsequently ate.
This is literally his alleged alibi. This is not a joke.
And that, I just don't. I think, I don't know where he came up with it, but essentially that's when that's not like anything new for his excuses. I think he's used excuses similarly in the past of like the one of the trainers had like a medical patch on his skin that rubbed against the horse, and it like somehow these kind of randomly abstract ways of human transmission to get.
Well, does anybody think really? I mean, I know that it's a horse and all that, but he's not going to eat something that somebody just pissed all over. Come on.
I don't know, man. I mean, but I doubt it. I mean, a race horse, especially, like those things are fed the best. They are not just given any and they're probably very snooty about what they eat too. I would imagine they just eat whatever. But who knows? I mean, if it's like grape cough medicine flavored piss, who knows? Maybe it'd be think it's like a fine wine or something. We don't know.
I guess I think that every sport's got its nasty side, and I think that horse racing it's a messed up world. I think I don't know much about it. I'm with Mike. It's like one of those things that I'm kind of peripherally aware of until the Kentucky Derby. I go, oh, I wonder who won, and then I go, I've never even heard of that horse, and I move on to the next thing. But I would have to think that if one, it's not like this guy's the only guy doing the doping or whatever and the stuff.
I just find it like fascinating that when steroids became a huge thing, like there were hearings on Capitol Hill in baseball, like the government felt the need to get involved. It's like, we can't have this, and then it turns out in horse racing, it's like, oh yeah, well everybody who's any good has done a bit of cheating. That just floors me,
right?
That it's just kind of like not a big deal.
Well, I mean, it's become more of a story over the last, I'd say, year or two. I mean, at least locally here, because Santa Anita Racetrack, which outside of the Triple Crown, the Santa Anita, specifically the Breeders' Cup, is regarded as like the next best horse race, or in terms of quality and money. And I think it is like the highest paid horse race out of all of them. During the 2018-19 racing year, they had 37 horse deaths at that track.
Jeez.
In the course of a year.
That's almost like
15 deaths in 2020 alone. So it's a crazy thing to think. Again, these are it's weird when sports talks about it, because these are ultimately animals, and it's more a story about like animal cruelty than anything else. And I know, at least with the Santa Anita stuff, there were plenty of the PETA folks that got their arms up about that. And I don't know why. I don't know why this has to happen at all, because from what I understand as well, again, in only the conversations I heard today, because when else am I going to hear about this? In Europe, they have a complete no drugs policy like whatsoever for their horse races. Like you can't even have like here. There's in the States, there's all these thresholds for painkillers and whatever. In Europe, it's like no. Like
leave it to America to have the trashy version. Good job.
If the horse needs a painkiller, it doesn't get to race. Like end of story.
Which is I think how it should be. I don't. I mean,
Right.
the horse, like Andy said, these are highly trained animals, and it's going to go out and do what it does, whether it's in pain or not. So I understand that you go, well, he's got to race, so we got to dope him up. But being an animal lover, it's like, no, if he's in pain, he sits down. That's it. End of story. And I like Europe's version better, which is rare for me to say that about anything. But in this case, they've kicked our asses, I think.
The Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and all these horse races, I hadn't really watched one. It probably until I don't know 10 years ago or so. And I mean, it's one of the things I've seen a million movies and stuff like that about it. And I knew generally, it's a horse race.
You've seen Seabiscuit.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like when you actually watch the thing, it's like 3 hours of drunk people doing a fashion show, and then literally like 30 seconds of a horse race.
My yearly ritual is at about 1 o'clock on that Saturday. I'm like, all right, the Kentucky Derby's today. Google's what time does the actual Kentucky Derby start? And it's like 3:23. It's like, all right, I will see you then. Because like you get all the advertising for it. It's like, oh, it starts at noon, and you're like, great. And then you turn in, it's like the race is in 3 hours. You're like, son of a bitch, you did it again.
To me, the whole horse racing thing is like just rich people and degenerate gamblers, and that's pretty much that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, it's like an American legacy sort of thing. Like
nobody likes it
days.
Per se. Right. It's just been around forever, and so I don't know.
Right.
I don't
when horse racing and boxing ruled the world,
Yeah, I mean there was a time. That's really wild.
Like, and the Cardinals legitimately ruled the world of baseball because home runs were considered a carnival show.
Right. Exactly.
The way that it should be.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, it's horse racing, and I'm not surprised. I guess that was my thing when Andy brought it up. I'm like, why is this even news? Of course they all cheat. And they all
right. Well, normally the Kentucky Derby winner doesn't test positive.
I knew that they all cheated. I had no idea they all got caught. That's the part that amazes me. It's like, well, it just depends on how many times you've been caught as to how bad your reputation is.
Yeah,
and that's pretty funny.
And the other thing is, like, the Preakness is this weekend, and Baffert said that he's gonna run the horse, no matter what. And technically, like, despite this positive test, the horse isn't officially disqualified from the Kentucky Derby yet, because they have to do like the secondary samples and all that, and that could take, for some reason, like another 2 weeks to test that stuff. So
I don't know why, but
it could all just come out. It could all just come out in the wash that it's like he got caught with this one test, but the second test is fine, and therefore it's okay.
I do think we need to discuss about how this horse trainer, breeder, whatever. Man, I don't know horse terms.
Horse breeder.
As Dennis said, the Ric Flair of horse racing.
The Ric Flair of horse racing.
Put horse breeder man in for the GTOV.
Horse breeder man. But like he's apparently blaming cancel culture.
Oh yeah.
Of course, that's exactly what it is. All you got to do is put together about 39 different things, and it falls right into place.
Didn't he specifically say this on a Fox News interview too?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, so where else in the world would a horse trainer claim cancel culture? But
I don't know, right? Newsmax.
Well, so the reason I think it was one of those things to where he was trying to formulate a thought, and like the thought plane, like it stalled midair and then slowly crashed on live television. Like he was trying.
That happens of Kurt Schilling a lot.
He was trying to come up with some sort of like overall cultural thing to blame, and then he just sort of word vomited out.
I don't think it's a cultural thing. If you just got caught doping a horse, like
it's a drug test. There's actual science involved here. It's pretty easy to prove. I don't get it.
We've seen how that.
And also, like, apparently, Andy, you were saying that it had like 40 tons of steroids in it or something. Like,
oh no. I think it had like, a horse is like 1,000, 1,200 pounds, and it had like, I don't know the exact math, like
21 picograms.
It's 21 picograms, and I don't know how heavy that is. I kept trying to convert it into pounds or gallons.
According to what Bob Baffert said on TV, it's the equivalent of 2 grains of sand in an Olympic-sized pool.
Bullshit.
That's what
I want to
said.
go back to the cancel culture thing for a second. In order to be canceled, don't people have to have at least a clue as to who you are?
And can you cancel a horse?
Usually cancel culture is like this guy said something like racist, and so we all need to like get him fired. I don't think anyone was like, guys, this horse used to be a member of the KKK. We need to.
Hey, nobody's put a microphone in front of the horse yet. You never know what it can say.
They shaved down the horse, and he's got a big swastika tattoo on its flank.
You do put those little like racing hoods on them, so maybe I don't know. Maybe anything's possible, but yeah, it's
the horse's
yeah,
Twitter.
Mike's right. The horse didn't come out and like say something really racist. I don't. This is hilarious to me.
And we can come back to this. I kind of wanted to segue while we were talking about degenerate gambling. This is a bit of news here. So unique and not. So speaking of gambling, Super Bowl odds have been updated to reflect the signing of Tim Tebow by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, geez.
The Jaguars Super Bowl odds have gone from 100-1 to 125-1 since signing Tim Tebow.
So they got worse.
So they've gone down. Yeah, their odds have gotten shittier. Again, like I think this came out 2-3 days ago, but maybe it was the day of the draft that he was coming back.
He was going to work out at least.
Yeah, there were rumors that he was going to work out, but not that they'd sign him.
Well, naturally, he goes back to old college coach down in Jacksonville, who's just. It's not going to end well for Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. That thing's going to flame the fuck out down there.
Here's the thing: like, I always hold out hope for talented or accomplished college coaches in the NFL, because like there is obviously that stigma that most of the time it doesn't work out, and I understand the reasons for it. But at the end of the day, football is football, and if you've got a good mind for coaching football, then those skills should be transferable. And there have been college football coaches that have worked out in the NFL, Jimmy Johnson being one example. But like, it is sort of a case where, Urban Meyer seems like the kind of guy where, he succeeded in he succeeded in 2 university programs.
3 of them. He was amazing at Utah, which got him hired to Florida.
Yeah. So honestly, like he's got a track record of success, and so I was kind of holding out hope. Like I was kind of pulling for him in a way, because it's like, okay, he's going to the Jaguars are basically trash. He'll have free reign to rebuild them however he wants, obviously within the confines of the NFL. He's getting a very talented quarterback, which is going to help matters. I, had high hopes that, Urban Meyer would prove that he's able to succeed in the NFL.
I don't think he can. I think he can succeed short term. Like, it's just a matter of how long.
Well, this whole thing kind of shot my confidence in him, because if he's like, oh yeah, Tim Tebow, like, okay, now you're just high off the smell of your own farts.
I think he's just doing a friend a favor, and they have a spot. Like, currently they have 5 tight ends on the roster apparently. So like, there's he may not even get to play. It's I don't really fault Urban Meyer for doing it. It's like you're helping a friend. If he thinks he's, if Tim Tebow proves himself good enough, then fine. But it's like, oh, now you want to do this, Tim? Now? Like, it wasn't 5 years ago when everyone told you stop trying to throw the football and go be an H-back. And he said, no, I will go play baseball instead. Like, all right, fine. Like, he had his shot to do this in the true athletic prime, when he could have really maybe been a force at a different position. So now he's coming from out of the game for a while, having played stints of minor league baseball while also being on TV, and now you think that you could go be an NFL tight end? Like,
he has not played football in 9 years.
Yeah,
there are guys that
crazy.
Literally could have had a Hall of Fame career between the last down he played and the next down he plays. That in 9 years, easy. You could have a Hall of Fame career in the NFL. That's how long he's been out. And I want to know one other player that had that poor of a career in the NFL that could come back 9 years later and go, give me a shot, and somebody would say, okay. You can't tell me there's not a better player out there that Urban Meyer can
when you're friends with the coach, it makes that easier, I guess.
See, I want to go
friends with him. I don't think there's a non-zero factor of that he's from Jacksonville that goes into this a little bit.
Oh,
like you don't think that people in Jacksonville would buy up a Tebow Jaguars jersey?
I guess. I don't know. I mean, Ohio State guys playing for the Browns or the Lions, whatever doesn't mean shit to me, to be honest. But maybe I'm just weird that way. So
yeah, but
they don't have the cult
but
of
you have to admit there is that contingent of Browns fans who's like, oh, he's from Ohio.
The thing with the Browns is that they're kind of like the Browns and the Buckeyes. I mean, they cross over obviously, but it's not like the same. I mean, I get it in Florida. It's like, oh, he was a Gator, so now we're going to go see him. I mean, that's way more of a thing, I think, in the South and SEC country than it is in Big Ten country. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but to me, it's like the Browns are a separate thing. We don't care.
Well, but who would you say is the greatest Ohio State football player of all time? Archie Griffin?
Archie Griffin, yeah.
If Archie Griffin was a Brown.
Justin Fields, I believe.
Well, Archie Griffin was a Cincinnati Bengal, so I think a Bengal fan that was around back would be the right guy to ask. I mean, I can't really answer that. I mean, I could be wrong about that. Maybe it does matter. It just doesn't matter to me.
I think it matters a little bit, like you said, especially down there. Like,
yeah, I think it's
especially with a guy like Tebow who has
the
cult of Tebow to him. Right? He's not just a football player. He's Tim Tebow. He's the man that made that speech and believes in Jesus and took a knee one time.
What speech? Oh, that was that. What speech did he make?
So that was
the one at Florida where he got like a statue made for him.
He has a plaque. Yeah, there's a plaque with the speech on it, and it's like the most generic "Rod, go get him" team speech.
It was like after a loss, he said, "I'm going to work so hard." And
I remember that now. Yeah.
It's the like.
You know what? I'll give it to Tebow that it might suck as a speech, but at least he gave an original speech as opposed to Russell Wilson, who just quotes Friday Night Lights. So you know what? I'll give Tim Tebow it for at least coming up with his own speech.
As always, fuck Russell Wilson. Just wanted to throw that in.
I am so glad that my franchise of choice dodged that particular bullet. Like, not for lack of trying. Jesus, the Bears were like horny for Russell Wilson, and thank God it didn't work out. I was like seriously trying to like figure out how I would, because I just got on the fuck Russell Wilson bandwagon like within the last couple of months, and suddenly it's like you have
welcome, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
We've made a career of it. I think you put it with us.
I mean, he's an insufferable person, and then suddenly the Bears they literally were going to trade away virtually all of their assets to acquire him, and the Seattle Seahawks refused. And I just was all they got. Like I couldn't imagine having to like it's sort of like the whole thing with the Rams new uniforms and Zach having to like, kind of modify your own reality to accept the horror that has been done and just
I love Bone. The golden ratio is
have fun with it.
Embrace the horror, and I wasn't ready to do that with him, and thank God that's not the case.
Yeah.
But
no, how dare you feel good about Bears draft pick, Andy? Like,
what the fuck's the matter with you, man?
Well, so I mean, this is a good time. We were talking football and on the draft, so we never really talked about the actual draft much last week. But a lot of people said the Browns had the best draft this year, which is fine.
They were like 4 linebackers short. So sorry, no, they didn't.
I'm just according to draft grade aggregates, which of course mean everything. The Bears were like 1 and 2, and it was kind of neat. The Bears had a nice little draft, but I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know how Fields is going to be. It's exciting, I guess.
Well, I mean, the thing that I wanted to talk about had nothing necessarily to do with the picks as much as it did these like draft room celebrations after maybe the first 3 picks can all get fucked. Because it's like I decided it's like, okay, I'm gonna stick around for the entire first round. And of course the Bucks, because they won the Super Bowl, they are they were picking last. And the Bucks, make some pick it in the at the last level, last pick of the first round, and they cut to the Bucks, draft room, and they're all like high-fiving and like hugging each other. It's like, really, you picked 32, like
celebrating like Andy did when he got that deer helmet in the draft.
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, and it's like the guy you got at 32, like, were you really on pins and needles that you weren't going to get him?
Well, if you look at like the Detroit Lions when they got Penei Sewell, there's video of that draft room where they were like going nuts, high-fiving and all that stuff, and it was kind of interesting. I read some articles about their draft room in particular. People were kind of admonishing them for their expressing so much, overly expressing emotion in that situation, and they're like, well, it's our first draft together, so we're just excited, so fuck you. And as much as I think the Lions are a bumbling ass, dumb franchise that are probably not going to be anything good. They
watch your tone, Andy. They might bite your knees.
Yeah, they're gonna call me a racial slur and then beat me.
That's what I'm looking forward to, though. With the Lions, I'm waiting for that week 5 press conference for the coach.
Oh, dude!
You want to see some cancel culture?
It'll never get to week 5. It's going to happen in the preseason. That's my bet. Anyway.
Yeah, that train will not be late. There's no way. But this year was weird because they had partial attendance. They had certain players in these weird like semi rooms that were
which were brought to you by Lowe's, by the way.
Yeah, but what did you see the way they were laid out to where like it was almost you're in a big warehouse?
Yeah,
they had like cubicles decorated with like a TV and plants and all this bull crap, and it was very odd. I don't think it was bad. It was just very strange. And the I guess what was the biggest drama, would you say, of the people in attendance? Was Mac Jones probably waiting to be drafted?
Yeah,
I guess. And that
was the ones that were actually there. Yeah.
But I mean, even that was still
Patriots.
kind of
Patriot, right?
Yeah. The Patriot who came on, and I think he earned the hatred of everyone with his speech, or I guess his interview after being drafted.
What did he say? Yeah, I didn't know.
He was saying how it basically is going on about it's like, this is the team I wanted to be drafted by, the best football team in the history of like everything.
Oh, fuck him. You know what? He's going to be terrible anyway, so it doesn't matter. I mean, if there's one team and one coaching staff that maybe might be able to make something out of him, it's New England. I'd say that, but
sure.
We talked about it last week or whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that this is a guy, and I loved how a lot of other people said this after I said it, but whatever, where he had the very best of the best to play with every week. And that makes your job as a quarterback easier, right? How much easier? Sure. I don't know. I don't play quarterback, but he's not going to have the 2 number 1 draft picks to throw to at New England. Their wide receivers are awesome.
He's going to have a bunch of lacrosse players.
Yeah, lacrosse players and like little white guys, and it's just not going to work out.
And as Mac Jones is failing, Bill Belichick will be beating him over the head with a clipboard, being like, "Why aren't you like Tom?"
Right. So I don't want to wish the guy any ill will or anything, but Alabama quarterbacks, we talked about this too. There's been 2 that I can think of that were moderately successful. Ken Stabler, by far and away, the most successful one. And after that is Joe Namath. And if you look at Joe Namath's stats, he wasn't that great. Now, it was a different era, so you got to kind of take that into account. But
he was great at drinking.
More interceptions and such. He was great off the field. Shit, dude could score with the best of them, but on the field, not the guy that people think he was. So,
no, well, he's in the Hall of Fame for Super Bowl 3, and that's
exactly. Yeah, and because he was just a name. I mean, he's probably
he's a name because of Super Bowl 3,
right? But he was a name before that. He was like, but he is the most fame part of the Hall of Fame you're going to run across in the whole building, I think. where it's more about his fame than his actual. He was good. Don't get me wrong, but now
Had that weird stint with the Rams where
yeah.
It's like Johnny Unitas with the Chargers.
Well, when it comes to mid-round QBs, Andy, are you pleased?
He's not allowed to be pleased. The Patriots fans have decided that Andy's not allowed to be happy.
No.
What am I not allowed to be pleased about?
Oh, Austin from Boston's whole thing.
I mean,
Right.
so as far as Justin Fields go, I wasn't excited probably a day before the draft, but I started to I saw a few things that I would like. I just like the dude as a guy. Like there's a couple really cool clips of him, like one where he's giving a pregame speech where he's like, "Let's just go out there and beat their ass. These guys suck." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, dude! Just give me that dude."
See, now that's a speech. None of this Russell Wilson or Tim Tebow nonsense. Like
He hasn't shown a whole lot of emotion since being drafted. He's kind of just been like,
well,
yeah, cool.
Well, that was
Great.
the big, Bears fans are still traumatized from Jay Cutler and the body language and all that crap. So there's a lot of people already paranoid that, Justin Fields, he wasn't excited when he got picked, so he hates the Bears and he sucks. And the thing is, though, like he got prank called, like his phone number got leaked. So when the Falcons were picking fourth, his phone rang. And he, for a minute, thought that somebody traded up to take him. And just to put it in context, like going third overall, I think Trey Lance.
It's a big difference in money.
Yeah, he's going to get like Trey Lance will probably get a contract worth overall about $33 million. And 11th, he's going to get like $11-12 million. Like the amount of money is drastically cut between the top three and outside of the top 10. So, I mean, I would be a little pissed off too if teams, because then you had 8th and 9th and you had to trade up to 10 and suddenly it's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm losing millions here. Somebody fucking call and take me, But, and plus, having his phone number leaked, it screwed everything up. And plus, like Zach said, I think this is not his personality. He's just kind of I'm ready to go to work. I'm going to do this, and his teammates all love him.
So there are really Chicago fans who are freaking out because he was not like ecstatic. He was not jumping for joy.
Not even just fans. I mean, fans you can always be counted on to be dumb, but I mean, there's some radio hosts over the last week or so that have been very irresponsible with that stuff, and I'm pretty disappointed with the few people.
I mean, I'm not a Bears fan. I don't like everything that he's done, but like. Between seeing him at the draft and then even seeing like his introductory press conference, I would think a guy would be a little bit more pleased to be like, hey, I'm going to an NFL team, and I'm going to a team that needs a QB. I'm going to Chicago, not a bad place. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it's just we have nothing else to speculate, so we might as well sit here and pontificate. There's no.
Yeah, if his phone number got leaked, and how many times did he get a fake phone call before he finally got picked?
So ESPN, I guess, had a film crew with him, and the only thing I saw that was documented was the call at 4. And who knows how many times he was called between then and 11.
He's been playing football his whole life. This is the day he's dreamed of, and they fuck it all up. I'd be a little pissed too. I mean, I don't blame him for not being all excited and stuff. He's probably heartbroken.
But I mean, there's also footage of him smiling and being happy, and they just don't show it. But again,
I never got the impression he was this dour, miserable prick when he played at Ohio State. I'll put it that way.
No, I mean he's not going to be like Mr. Media personality, whatever. But like, I don't care about that, and I feel like it's gotten way too much traction. Like,
well. Speaking of what Zach said, he's going to a team that needs a quarterback. Speaking of that, does he start over Andy Dalton?
Probably
not right away.
Weeks now.
Well, the Bears already stupidly tweeted that there's just a picture of Andy Dalton mocked up in a Bears uniform, and it said number 1 QB or something like that.
QB1.
I know that he came out like when Andy Dalton had his introduction to the Bears press conference. Like he said, like he was guaranteed to start.
Yeah.
Like,
and they called him they called him after they drafted Fields and told him you're still the starter. But Matt Nagy, the coach, he was on Rich Eisen, I think, just yesterday or today, and said essentially like, well, We're not sure about that. We're just going to let it play out. And
Well,
I think
it seems like things are off to a great start in
yeah.
Chicago.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if like they retweeted the Andy Dalton Bears picture that said instead of QB1, it was like QB1B, and they just sort of updated that so that. But
I imagine they'll probably do the half and half thing. Start Andy Dalton, let him learn or whatever, and then halfway through the season,
because young talents have so much to learn from Andy Dalton. Like what's he going to pick up from Andy Dalton? How to lose to the Texans in the wild card game?
Well, he'll still have the wisdom of Nick Foles, who will probably still be on the roster at that point.
Mike, and don't forget, he'll learn how to be the Red Rifle, and that's important.
They'll awkwardly call him the Red Rocket, and it'll just be this weird, you can't market that. But I
was going to say we talked about this a lot about the not starting the rookies, but I saw a thing the other day. I forget what show it was on, and they were talking about that. And believe it or not, the rookies that do start in their first year, it doesn't go as well as we don't expect them to win Super Bowls or anything, but that's not great.
No,
and the guy with like the highest rating that was Aaron Rodgers, who waited 4 years to start, and he became Aaron Rodgers, and the rest it's all kind of like, yeah, I didn't realize that, but so who knows?
Yeah, I think the number one was Aaron Rodgers, number two was Mitch Trubisky when they did the like best overall rookie, like forced to play as a rookie stats.
Mitch Trubisky is he's the MVP, so
right,
yeah, the first ever MVP. And
hopefully not the last, because that was an awesome broadcast. But I digress.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't have the strength for the Bears right now. I give them
okay. Let's not.
No. I mean, like I'm fine with talking about the Bears, but when it comes to speculating about the Bears, it is just such a trivial and futile thing because I'm not saying they'll fuck it up, but they just do things that give me a headache. And I just sort of, as a fan, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this in your own way with your own teams. After a while, as your teams do stuff, whether it's good or bad, you instead of going like yeah, fuck yeah, you just sort of go, huh, okay, there is this kind of a
that's basically my life as a Leafs fan. So that's I get you.
Yeah, I would say.
Mike, you're Scotia North Division champion.
I mean, no, I was looking at it. I just want to let y'all know, the Leafs are the only one of our teams in the NHL making the playoffs this year. So.
That's it.
Yeah. Well,
so Mike, Mike, do we have playoff hockey implications happening tonight?
Well, yeah. So I wanted to talk. So there's playoff implications going on tonight in not the Scotiabank North.
No, the Discover Central.
Discover Central. So basically,
the centrally located Florida teams.
The centrally located, the Central, which includes natural geographic rivals, Chicago and Dallas.
They're kind of both in the center of the country. They're just like 18,000 miles.
I like Chicago and Tampa.
Chicago and Tampa. So we've got so basically. The first and fourth seeds are locked in. Carolina is going to be playing the Purds in the first round.
The SEC series.
The SEC series. Whoever wins, we lose. Some obnoxious Southern fan base will be advancing, and it's just unfortunate.
Whoever wins gets Alabama.
Yeah. But the 2-3 race is interesting because we've got the Florida Panthers against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now,
that game is in progress, by the way.
Yes, last Saturday, I believe, the Florida Panthers kind of shellacked the Lightning with a score 5-1. And
after Patrick Maroon was asked, like, "Hey, you're gonna play these guys in the first round. What do you want to establish this weekend playing the Panthers?" Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I want them to say." I want them come Monday or, when the series was over to be like, oh, holy shit, we're playing the fucking Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. And then the Panthers won 5-1. So good job, Patrick Maroon. But the point of that is that the way the standings fell after that loss, Florida has a record of 36-14-5, 77 points. The Lightning have a record of 36-16-3 with 75 points. that means that the game currently in progress will determine home ice advantage. If Tampa wins in regulation, they will tie the Panthers for points, but jump over them and take home ice advantage with more, wins in the win column. But if Florida wins or Florida manages to get it to overtime, even if they lose, then Florida will clinch home ice advantage.
Yeah. Either way, it's the first time that the two Florida teams are playing each other in the first round, so that's fun. That's
actually hilarious because talking to people here, I was surprised to hear that that is in fact true. It's like
they've never played each other in the playoffs, or just in the first round.
In the playoffs,
because the Panthers never make the fucking playoffs.
Well, because okay, so like early on when both teams were like young, the Panthers were good and the Lightning sucked. And then as time went on, the Lightning got good, but the Panthers started to suck.
Wow.
Like perennially suck.
Yeah, like I think there was that one time the Panthers made the playoffs off of overtime losses, and then they lost like 3 of their 4 games in overtime. So that was
correct.
That was a beautiful season. But the point,
that was the Yager season.
That was the Yager season, yeah. But the point is that this will be the first time that these two teams have met in the playoffs, and interestingly, the buzz around here, people are talking about it. I actually, I did some digging, and the Panthers Lightning rivalry is actually quite fascinating.
It's like 3 guys arguing. That's the rivalry.
Well, here it is. It's actually. They actually have a name for it.
No way.
Bowl.
It's called the Governor's Cup.
It is, huh?
Yeah, it's called the Governor's Cup.
You couldn't come up with something like, down here we at least came up with something snappy. We have the freeway face-off. That's kind of fun.
It was okay. So it was previously. It was previously.
Did Ron DeSantis give it out?
Yes.
Doesn't know what the fuck it is. I guess.
Yes, actually. So basically, what happened was, I forget at some point. I don't even know who. Some governor of Florida was like at the end of every hockey season, I'm going to present a cup. I'm going to present a trophy to the winner of the annual the winner of the Florida Panthers Tampa Bay Lightning season series.
This has got to be more irrelevant than that trophy that Connecticut and what the fuck played.
Central Florida, yeah. No, okay. It gets better though. It gets better. So it's called the Governor's Cup. It used to be the Governor's Cup presented by Nextel.
Oh my God!
Little nasty.
Nextel went out of business.
Yeah,
and nobody's picked it up.
Imagine why.
I mean, business decisions like this are one of the reasons Nextel went out of business.
I could imagine someone just forgot.
Yeah.
So I guess the Panthers have a slim lead in the Governor's Cup rivalry. 14.
Yeah.
I don't.
Actually, it's more than a slim lead. I was actually shocked because, as Zach said, the Panthers have been historically awful for so long. I thought,
they're putting all their effort into winning the Governor's Cup every year.
I was like, the Lightning must be running away with this. No, here we go. Total meetings 145. All-time series is 70-48, 10-17 for Florida.
Yeah. That's why they're terrible everywhere else. They put all their efforts into this. They've got a wall lined with Governor's Cups.
They fucking circle it on their calendar. I don't give a shit if you win any.
It's like we could lose the next 10 games, but we're fucking beating the Lightning for that Governor's Cup.
I want another Governor's Cup on that fucking shelf next season.
It'd be hilarious if it actually wasn't a cup, but it was one of those plaques that you get, those cheap plaques that you get for being the top in sales that month or something.
Congrats, insert name here.
Yeah.
Tape on it with Panthers and Lightning.
The Governor's Cup was created in 2013 by Florida Governor Rick Scott.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I remember Rick Scott.
I
don't know much about
so
him.
it's got a long history, of course, 8 whole seasons.
Well, look at the Panthers go. You know what? They've got to be wearing. I mean, do they get rings with that too? Like, do you get a Governor's Cup ring? Like,
no, they just get those big plastic cups you get at spring break.
Yeah, I can't.
Go ahead.
I can't find a picture of it anywhere, but
I'm not sure it exists.
I would doubt
it's a theoretical trophy.
It has
I mean, if it was sponsored, they totally had to have a.
It was sponsored for 1 year by Nextel.
Well, fuck it then. You know,
not only that, but the largest victories here, you know, are all Florida Panther wins. You know, there's 2 of them. In 2006, Florida beat Tampa 8-2.
Oh, wait a second. I found it.
all right.
Oh, okay.
Let's see it.
And it has a logo, which I will also.
Here, while we're doing that, I'm going to throw this question up from Chaos Blast because.
I am absolutely excited at Toronto Montreal. I'm actually really excited about Toronto Montreal, but I want to laugh at the Governor's Cup too.
Well, we got to do both. I think.
Oh my God!
That's really underwhelming. That's really unfortunate.
I love it. It looks like something in my grandma's crystal cabinet.
It's like here. Oh, come on.
The
base is nicer than the trophy, I think.
I love how it's on and I love how it's like displayed on this little table in front of like just some framed pictures of what looks like the back room of some office.
Right.
Like,
so, but here's my other thing. This is the only picture of it. And based on the logo and based on another site that has the same logo, I think that was it in its very first season. They definitely made it in 2013. Has it been seen since?
It's like the Panthers won it the first season and then they just refused to give it up.
Well, it's got a bunch of flowers in it in some old lady's house in
Fort Lauderdale.
They actually handed out to the Kentucky Derby winner.
There's somebody that like has a random like picture of Christopher Stieg that's like they just got from this when they sold all this shit a few years ago. So on the trophy itself, on the base of it, it's got like that brass kind of placard with the logo etched on it. It doesn't look like there's anything inscribed on the plate. It could just have been left blank.
I tell you, they put like some white athletic tape and they just write right in Sharpie the name of the team here.
No, I figured they would just like do a new line every year of like the winner and like do it all around the trophy, like a Stanley Cup.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised.
It's a lot of trouble to go to for this, but maybe they do. I don't know.
This is like I think what's so this looks like it's taken somewhere in either the Panthers like team offices or in the arena somewhere. How much you want to bet at some point they forgot about this stupid thing and then like a maid came by one night and filled it up with water and put some flowers in it and it's just been there the entire time?
No, now it's in Fort Lauderdale at her house.
At her house, yeah.
Yeah, I mean some like tertiary employee staffer has it in their office or they donated it to a local hotel or something. And it's
so my question is this the new, is that plaque with the logo like a new one? If we unscrew it, is there going to be like an etched out Nextel logo underneath?
Yeah, it's probably got a
well,
bowling...
I mean that Panthers logo is the old logo too.
Like they never updated it.
I think the person that took it did it as a prank. They're like, we'll just hang on to it till someone asks, and here we are 8 years later.
Yeah. Speaking of actual hockey stuff, though, like this is fun, but something incredible happened this week in the league. Okay. Connor McDavid, largely regarded as the best player in the league, right?
Yeah,
100 points in 53 games.
Where does that compare to Gretzky? Is that
so? This is how it breaks down. It's the fastest anyone's gotten to 100 points since 95-96 when Mario Lemieux did it. And which also makes it the first time in Connor McDavid's lifetime anyone's ever done this. But in NHL history, 100 points in 53 games was done 11 times by Gretzky.
Okay.
Six times by Mario. Twice by Yari Curry, twice by Phil Esposito, and then once by McDavid, once by Yager, Bernie Nichols, Steve Yzerman, and Marcel Dion.
Gretzky did it 11 times, and everybody else was like, wow.
Yeah.
Gretzky for you.
God.
Yeah. But McDavid, 31 points in his last 11 games.
Well, what do you get? What is it? Was it 100 points in 53 games?
100 points in 53.
That's almost 2 points a game. That's like a goal and assist a game every time.
There have been some NHL seasons recently where the top point getter has struggled to get to 100 points.
Yeah, but let me ask you this: how many Governor's Cups has Connor McDavid won?
Well, that's a good point.
I mean, hell, Jamie Benn, he won the Art Ross Trophy one year with the most points at 89. 89, and McDavid did 100 in a little over half a season.
I mean, I mean, joking aside, it's like Connor McDavid is like it's either him or Ovechkin at this point in terms of the best player in the world. But so that's not really surprising per se. But
and the caveat to all this, of course, is that the schedule is much different. Right, he's constantly playing against the Canadian teams that don't really have great defenses. You're constantly playing against.
Oh, fuck you!
You're constantly playing against Vancouver and Ottawa and
that's because Anaheim's been lighting the season up, right?
Well,
did I say that? No, we're terrible, man. That's not our problem.
We need.
No, he is only playing against looks like 6 teams here.
Yes.
So yeah, that's. I mean,
well, blame the NHL for not wanting to put a team in Quebec City.
First of all,
not the great teams like Columbus and Buffalo. Come on now,
quit trying to cancel him. First of all,
Anaheim. He's not playing Anaheim.
The thing I feel like invalidates his achievement is not any of the scheduling or any of that. It is the fact that he has performed this while mostly wearing those awful Navy
orange Oilers jerseys.
No, I can live with the orange ones. It's the Navy alts.
Blues. They've been wearing them a lot this season. I don't get it.
They will wear them for the playoffs, and it is a disgrace. And they should
said they're going to wear those in the playoffs.
Yes, they've announced that will be their primary throughout the playoffs.
Edmonton, if you wanted to wear a blue jersey, why did you stop wearing the Gretzky jerseys? You dumb team.
They do not have an answer. They don't know. They don't care. I mentioned it on the board in the NHL uniform thread, and I'll say it again. What franchise, which, the Oilers have, they have no excuse to have ever changed their uniform since Gretzky, besides doing just basic modern refittings and whatever.
This shit. I could kind of understand the 90s, like when they went with navy and copper, like
no,
it was bad. It wasn't as good as the Gretzky look, but in the sense of like, it was the 90s, teams were doing stupid shit. Okay, I get it, but they should have gone back to the Gretzky look, like when the Edge changeover happened. That should have been the excuse.
The thing is, they did, and then they decided to be like, well, we're gonna do it, but we're also not gonna do it, and it's like, why?
So they did the Gretzky, but they returned to form for 3, 4, 5 years, and it was fine. And I get it that they may be like, we need to just differentiate ourselves from the Islanders. When, in my opinion, the Islanders should just shove it up their ass and change their look and leave the Oilers the fuck alone. But the Oilers, for whatever reason, they went to this dark navy and the orange. It's okay. I don't think
so. Apparently, what happened was, when they went, back when they were in the navy and copper, they used the Gretzky uniforms as alternates, and then when they went with the Gretzky look full time, they needed to find a new alternate. So they went back to their WHA days where they wore orange jerseys for a season, and were like, "Oh, we'll bring that back as an alternate." And that was, people broadly liked that. And then I guess, the story I've always heard is that the Oilers felt they needed to differentiate eras. They were like, You know, Gretzky was like the royal blue. Connor McDavid's era should be like the orange era. So
And I don't even mind that. What the problem is, what Andy's kind of getting at, like, I don't even mind having these navy blue abominations as your alternate if that's really what you want to do. Keep it as an alternate. You wear it a handful of times, like in a 53 game season or 56 game season. Wear it 5 or 6 times, maybe. You know,
maybe that's generous.
They've been. I think they've worn it for like half their home games, maybe more.
It'll be their full time.
It's going to be their main look in the playoffs. So like, I don't.
It's this, and it's the worst sort of design where it's it's the worst application of this stupid stealth uniform.
It's hard to look at.
The stealth uniform trend.
What it looks like. I gotta find it.
I'll pull it up here. It's
all right.
It's the most boring, uninventive.
Like you know. Okay, Greg. You know how people say when a bad uniform comes out, it's like, oh, I could have done that. This is literally a jersey you could have designed.
If I can design it, it's fucking horrible. I can tell you that right now.
It's an unfinished look. It's just, again, we've
seen.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I compare it. I would say it compares slightly to the brown look they had during that. It was like the tail end of their abysmal uniforms in the last years where they went the all brown, and it was the least offensive of their looks. This is the opposite. This is the most offensive of the Oilers' looks. And yet I would rather take their "Why did we even bother" reverse retro jerseys over this. Look in the background. Look, you have all the Oilers fans who are not wearing this bullshit.
Yeah, no.
They're wearing the real deal.
You know what those remind me of? Are like two things, like Roadway Trucking, which my dad was a truck driver, so I know what that is. Those are their colors, and for some fucking reason, a book of matches. I can't explain that one to you, but that's what it reminds me of. This is horrible.
It's a nothing look. It's an incomplete. It's a fashion jersey that has somehow been adopted.
5 Stanley Cups in those classic uniforms. And I'm not one to normally go like, oh, they won in these, but you know what? It's not about that they won the 5 cups, but that's a legacy. That's like a Yankees, Canadiens type thing. It's like
it's not that they 5 cups, but it's not only did they win 5 cups, but though that Gretzky Oilers team was arguably the greatest hockey team ever assembled.
Fucking stacked. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
You like Paul Coffey, Mark Messier, Grant Fuhr, and that's even before you even get to Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and it's like Andy's saying, it's a great fashion jersey, and that's why I understand why teams nowadays you make your fashion jerseys alternates now and you wear them so that you can market them. But when you get to the Stanley Cup playoffs, as weird as they're going to be this year, you wear your primary look, unless you're planting the seed of this is going to be our look going forward, which plenty of teams have done over the years, and it usually plays out just fine. But I don't think anybody's arguing for these to be the primary look.
No,
and
nobody
if the Oilers
likes
did
them.
do that, right? And if the Oilers did do that, they'd be rightfully criticized.
I mean, what is the white version of this jersey going to look like? Is it just
I would assume you make it all the accents will be blue.
So it's just going to be blue accents on a white jersey.
I guess. If I had to guess.
I look at the Oilers roster. Jesus Christ, what a team!
Yeah.
I'm at the 85 team, 84-85 team.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I think they have 6 Hall of Famers now in total.
I don't know about the Hall of Famers. You got Gretzky, Curie, Coffey. Remember Mike? Let me see. I'm going to get Krushelnyski. I think so you said it, or Krushelnyski. Remember him?
This is the reason why the original Winnipeg Jets weren't successful, because they'd have pretty decent seasons and then run into these guys every year in the playoffs.
Glenn Anderson. Kevin Lowe was on that team. Let me see here. Other names that I reckon. Well, Dave Semenko, but he was just basically Gretzky's enforcer.
Yeah.
You had Grant Fuhr. Andy Moog was the backup goalie, I believe, for that team. And he turned out to be pretty decent. It's crazy. God damn, they were so good. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I just had to look at
I'm trying to. I pulled up just a few things here. Glorious. This is a glorious matchup over here. And look at this. But that's a fucking hockey uniform. You don't mess with it.
Perfect.
Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
No,
These are
the the matchups against the Flames, because Chaos Blast is right that they've been wearing. I think they've been wearing them exclusively during the games against the Flames this year.
Like,
why?
This isn't great. This doesn't do well for me. But like,
well,
you
just
better,
you just
better than that.
What is
you
this?
just need to look at the Flames though. Like the Flames were in uniform hell for so long, and then they just bit the bullet and they said, you know what, we're just going to go back to our classic look, and everybody loves it. So Edmonton, what's the problem? Like Gretzky, go back to the Gretzky look. It's what
it's. I think because they have McDavid, they feel to like.
It's just like when LeBron, like any team that gets LeBron puts out like 10 alternates.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like this is their version of the Land uniforms. Like you're just going to get crap like this all the time, so they can sell as many Connor McDavid jerseys as they can before he decides, I'm really tired of playing in this shithole.
Hey.
Sorry, not shithole, ice hole.
But guys, while we're doing this, we need to be sure, because we're recognizing the mistakes and the missteps of the Oilers. We need to fully appreciate Flames while we can, because I feel like it's inevitable that within the next handful of years that they will fuck
it up.
That they will fuck it. It is so good.
That uniform is so fucking perfect. Why would you even? I would just be like, you know what? This is a masterpiece. Don't mess with it. Leave it alone.
Anytime the Flames play the Leafs, it's just beautiful. It's just.
I can imagine. God.
It's just and further. You know what? I was. You watch it and you go, this is a beautiful hockey match. This is a beautiful uniform matchup. How fucked up would it be if one or both of these teams decided, like, no, we're going to wear our City Connect uniforms? Like,
no. Speaking of City Connects, I mean,
Andy.
we texted about it, but what do you think about the community Blackhawks jerseys?
I don't know. We kind of discussed a little bit about this, because I mentioned I'm kind of indifferent to it myself. Do
you like the constant infusion of the Chicago flag into all things Chicago sports?
It's just low hanging fruit, and I mean, I don't care from a. I'm trying to think of what the like from a fashion jersey standpoint. I don't care, because that's everywhere. Like anytime you go to any like Chicago sports memorabilia store, half the shit in there is the fashion jersey that somehow has the light blue and the red of the Chicago flag. If one of you guys can find a picture of that, jersey for me. I can't dig one up. But the Blackhawks, I guess they're no stranger. They're no stranger to doing like unusual like skate jerseys and stuff like that, to where there's warm up or practice jerseys, stuff like that. That where they're camo, or they have one or another weird thing. And the thing that I mentioned that we kind of discussed was that I feel like this is them earnestly attempting to probe regarding what they will do post Blackhawks era, if they were to change, which I feel like will happen. And I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised. Not pleasantly surprised, I guess, but you guys all seem to think that you defended it, and that's I'm not saying that. Yeah, not that it's a complicated thing, because obviously it's kind of an era of change for any kind of imagery about that. But it is such a beautiful crest, though. The
way I see it with the Blackhawks, and if people want to disagree with me, they can disagree with me. I don't care. But the way I see it is that the name it's not a slur. It's not even a descriptor like you could argue the name Indians was, because, some people took the name Indians and it's like, oh, well, natives call themselves Indians. And it's like, well, yes, they do. But at the same time, calling a team after an entire race of people is still kind of weird. But like Blackhawks are just named after a guy, right? It's like naming a team the Washingtons or something. Like they're named after a relevant historical figure in the region. So the name isn't a slur, and the logo is just like a depiction of the guy they're named after. So I have never really seen a problem with the Blackhawks logo in any way, really.
That's
my take.
again, I don't have a full vote in this, but I've never been bothered by it. It doesn't bother. I think it's well done. It's classy. It's you can argue. People will argue. Well, the Indians is a tribute. It's like, nah, not really. You can't throw Chief Wahoo out there and call that a tribute. I'm sorry, I don't buy that for a second. It's a caricature. It's offensive. Indians, like Mike said, is a catch-all name that was incorrect to begin with. The Blackhawks I've never gotten that vibe from, and I think that they will somehow get through this without having to deal with the getting rid of the identity and all that, because I don't think it bothers anybody. I think it's going to be similar to like the Florida Seminoles or the Spokane Indians in Washington and the minor leagues, whatever. I just don't see a problem with it. I hope. I'd really hate to see it go.
For all intents and purposes, I'm not like offended or put off. I mean, if you envision this in like Blackhawks colors, it'd be, okay. I really don't like this.
That was my takeaway, which is that, if the Blackhawks do need to change their crest, if it is something that they have to do, then something like this word mark isn't the worst thing in the world. Yeah, I don't hope
for Chicago in the tail, but
no, that's very rec league. I played on softball teams that had our sponsor in the tail. Like
I just don't want it to be Chicago flag colors. Like you can use a crest like this in the classic, black, white, and red.
Right. I think if there's any change to the logo, there will be. You can't change the jersey design because that's the one thing that is sacred. I think because it truly is like it's either them or the Canadiens for best jersey, at any given point. And so like you can take off if they ended up changing the crest. Okay. Times change and people feel the need to do it. Fine. But the red with the black and white stripes, you can't touch that. Can't touch that whatsoever. Once you start tinkering with all that stuff, then you're all just downhill. And what does it even matter anymore? Just do whatever the hell you want.
I guess yesterday it's easier to answer like in person, but I'm sure that like I think Zach pointed out, they get blowback on this because everybody gets blowback on something
from time to time. Yeah.
But is it anything close to what it was with say the 32s or the Clevelands?
No, it's never been like I can say that pretty emphatically that like personally I've never seen like every now and then you get someone being like, oh, the Blackhawks should change, but it's never been like the 32s or the Indians where like you had protesters outside of the arena.
Well, like I said yesterday, if they want to like put it to a vote of Native Americans, I will peddle influence with my full blood relatives. If anybody wants to, send some donations my way.
And to the Blackhawks' credit, they are very, very conscious of this whole of the image of their franchise, and they have been very tight with native communities and tribes to
good.
I don't know if there's necessarily funding kind of level things or donations. That relationship I think was not, I don't want to say damaged, but changed in the last couple of years, but they're very cognizant of that. And again the crest is dignified. There's virtually no Native American or similar imagery in any of their promotion materials or anything like that.
They don't have idiots wearing headdresses to the games or anything.
No, they have banned any of that from fans in their arena.
And again, like it's not a racist caricature like Chief Wahoo was. And again, it's just like the guy. Yes, the name was ultimately named after a World War I battalion, which was named after Chief Blackhawk. So essentially the team is named after Chief Blackhawk. And and it's like the team's named after Chief Blackhawk and the logo is a picture of Chief Blackhawk. Like I'm not like, again, you can throw caveats out there. You can disagree with me. You could say, oh, you're just a white guy, but like you don't have a say in this. And you know what? Fair enough if that's how you want to go with it. But in my opinion, it's not a slur. They're named after a Native American historical figure of renown, and the logo's just a picture of the dude. So
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, and I think that if they were to change, it would be it would be very similar to what the University of Illinois Fighting Illini have done, to where There's only kind of faint traces of it left in the Illini's branding. There's locally, I mean, living in this area, there's definitely a lot of people who still have the Chief Illiniwek stickers and logos and jackets and all that stuff. And there's a lot of people who obviously still pine for the Chief to come and dance still and stuff like that, which is kind of ridiculous. But with the Blackhawks, I feel like what they would do is just drop the crest and introduce like we saw with the script there, something to where, like what Zach said, the uniform is essentially completely unchanged. They just modify. They remove the crest and replace it with a script. I think that's all.
I'm with Mike. I don't see a single, and again, and I only have a little bit of a vote, but I don't see a single reason to change anything. And maybe I'm wrong about that.
It's not imminent. I don't think that's. I feel like if it was going to happen, it would have happened in the last 6 months to a year.
When it was really at the forefront of a lot of this stuff, it might have something would have come up, I would think.
Well, like I distinctly remember, there were, when the pressure really started being put on the 32s, and then they changed. They announced that they were dropping it, and then it was about a year until the Indians announced that they were changing, but people were talking about it in that year time. And I remember early on, someone mentioned the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks put out a statement being like, our name and logo is derived from, Chief Blackhawk, a local historical figure, and we will not be changing. And the team said, we have no immediate plans to change. And then there wasn't any uproar over that. It's just people just either ignored it or just didn't talk about it. So I don't think there really is this big pressure to change. I think to change them in any way.
I thought the Indians were kind of on the heels of the 32s. It wasn't that far apart.
Was it? I could have sworn it was it
was all 2020 stuff. I know that everything.
That whole year felt like 50 years. So.
Right. But it doesn't work in 2020. But they weren't too far apart.
But yeah, I distinctly remember that when all that stuff was at fever pitch, someone mentioned the Blackhawks. Right. The Blackhawks said they weren't changing, and that was pretty much it.
I didn't see that the first research came out for the new Cleveland's name, and Spiders won easily.
Well, there you go. Just do that.
Yeah, I think they're going to just kind of write it out. And I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. I'm still amazed that they're still wearing jerseys that say Indians on them. I really thought they would just go Cleveland on everything, and that would be
to me, Spiders is a cool name. You could do it in a way that wasn't cringy, and it's interesting. I don't know. I've seen enough. I've seen a lot of really cool Spiders mock-ups.
Yeah,
a lot of them that even incorporate the team's Block C logo really well. So,
well, we'll see where it goes.
I don't know. And someone needs to get Dan Snyder on the line, because we need to make 32s official, because that's just too good.
It's actually kind of part of the, wasn't the Washington F32 FC or something like that, or FC32 was one of the names that they've actually applied for. Mm-hmm. Which, come on, that's us. We did that. The 32s is perfect. I don't know why they don't just go with it. And you could retire the jersey number 32. I don't think a famous, I was going to almost say their name again, a famous Washington player has ever worn 32 that I know of. I mean, there's a whole thing here. We solved your problem, Dan Snyder. Despite you and your fucking drones, we did it anyway.
Although I still admit I'm partial to Red Wolves, but whatever.
Now 32s is where we got to go, man.
32s is available, right? I mean, it's
actually, and it's actually kind of part of the new branding. It was the Washington Football Club 32 or something like that.
Well, football team, not club.
It was.
Team.
It was on. It was one of several options on a poll, a team poll, was it not?
Yeah, something like that. I thought maybe they'd applied for names. I don't know.
You know what? You know what, Dan Snyder? If you change the name to the 32s, I will buy a hat. So
me too.
There you go.
Two hats, right? You can make like $15.
Not only that, but I pine for being able to buy a NFC East division champion. 6-11 Washington 32's hat.
all that's great, but then we have to give money to Dan Snyder. So I don't want to do that.
No, because it's all revenue sharing, right? So
giving money to our own teams.
Yeah, only 30. Ironically, only 32. Only 1/32, 1/32 of the purchase would go to him. So
Yeah, the Bears would get like $1.80.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go, Dan Snyder. You're looking at probably between the T-shirts and the hats, probably like, I don't know, you probably clear about $30. That's a lot of money.
Zach,
a lot of cash right on the barrelhead, right there.
I want to follow up, Zach, because you mentioned the other day in our text group, our group text, that your girlfriend approved of the Blackhawks practice sweaters. Do we have any further
variety of answers from us?
Yeah, I didn't know. Was there a further conversation had about?
No,
did you?
No, because I asked if she was getting out of the car, and she just kind of was like, "Yeah, those are nice," and then like just went to go pump the gas. And I was like, "Okay."
I told you in the text, Zach, you just appreciate the fact that she even cares enough to give an opinion about it. That's.
I mean, I sort of made her give an opinion. I put it in front of her face. Yeah. I was like, "Hey, what do you think of these?" And
speaking of Zach, there's two things I want to bring up here. First off, he won an award last week, which we should congratulate him on.
Oh, Mazel Tov!
What, am I the only one that follows this guy on Twitter, or what?
I do. I just didn't see it. What happened?
Yeah. He got. You explain it. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, for the third year in a row, I at the California Newspaper Publishers Association Awards, I got second place in this year, a different category. This year I got second place for a sports feature story I wrote. So second place in the state in my category in my division, but second place in the state for my sports feature story that I wrote last year.
And that's not second place in Rhode Island, folks. That's in California. Just saying.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Like I said, it's like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I've won these before, but like it's cool to win. I didn't necessarily expect to, because like Greg said, like California is such a big state that even something that I think is like, this is okay. You submit it, you hope, and I was thrilled to.
Did you get to give a speech?
Well, no, because they're doing it really dumb this year.
Well, there goes next year's award.
Well, no. They know that this is kind of stupid, but it's the ways of COVID, right? So, like 2 years ago, we actually got to go to a big ceremony and get the award and have the the whole drinks and dinner and a good time, a nice gala, as it was called. And then last year, the awards ceremony was postponed or canceled due to COVID, so they just released a list. This year, they knew that they weren't going to have it again because of COVID. So instead of just releasing all the names at once, they're kind of dripping them out a couple awards at a time over like 2 weeks. So like I got second place for that one, and I also got fifth place for a graphic that we put together last year for coronavirus.
Nice.
A couple of my other colleagues one of my colleagues got second place for a racial justice protest photo.
Yeah, I saw that one too. Yeah. So it's been pretty awesome to just get some recognition after a long, tough year in the trenches of journalism. But
congratulations to you. Well done.
Yes, we are award-winning journalists right here, part of Basically a Sports Show.
Just, I mean, to my credit, just to toot my own horn a little bit here, I've also won an award recently in the last probably 10 days. I won the day for the Creamer Awards for the most liked content. The day that I told Austin in Boston that he sucked and no one likes him.
I mean, that's a post of the day worthy post right there.
Yeah, that was
not to steal Zach's thunder, but I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh, hey, go for it.
This is bigger, so yeah, we should steal his thunder.
No, I don't know. We're going a little meta with the board stuff. I feel kind of bad because I'm going to say this right here because I saw that conversation.
You shouldn't feel bad. Austin from Boston is an idiot, and he needed to hear it.
Well, I don't have a problem with. I think his thing is that he can't disagree with you without saying essentially, are you stupid he doesn't go quite that insulting, but he's always like, can you not read? Can you blah, blah, blah. If he would leave that shit out, it would be a fair debate, but he doesn't.
The problem is that he's a fucking spoiled Patriots fan, spoiled Boston sports fan who talks down to and like punches down to teams that have that are less fortunate. Like what did you say to friend of the show McCarthy, Andy, like together in pain or something?
Yeah, just
like,
bonded in pain, that kind of
in pain. It's like if a Bengals fan wants to piss on the Bears, fine, but it's like a Patriots, like, come on, guy, like, fuck you.
The thing that pissed me off was that he was like 5 posts earlier. He was like talking about how he couldn't wait for the Patriots to like trade up and get Fields, and then the Bears trade up and get Fields, and he's like, Fields sucks. His career's over. He's gonna bust out in Chicago. What a shithole. And I just fucking snapped. And
well, I mean, this is the same guy, by the way, who he's a Celtics fan. Celtics trade a bunch of players to get some all-stars. They win an NBA championship. That's building a team the right way. The Lakers trade a bunch of players to get LeBron James or to sign LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, and it's that's building a team the wrong way. So the dude's a fucking hypocrite.
Was he the guy that was like, "Do you do it my way and it's right if you do the same?"
Yeah, that was him.
Okay,
that was him. And not as egregious, but it's still, ground my gears, was that, like, if you go back, to 2019 and the 2019 NBA playoffs thread, like 10 minutes before the Raptors won the NBA championship, he's saying Toronto's going to choke. Toronto teams always choke. And then 10 minutes later, the Raptors are NBA champions. So it's like, you're just a fucking spoiled Boston fan who likes to dance on the graves of other teams, and you like to do it so much you don't even wait until the body's in the ground.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
fuck you, buddy.
When we started this show, would have anybody had bet that the Cavaliers and the Raptors would win a title before the Lakers would?
When we started the show?
When we started the show in 2012.
And the Cubs.
And the Cubs. When I was talking in basketball, like if you just said, okay, you've got like, and are you a Pacers or a Bulls fan?
I am neither. I just kind of exist in a limbo of the
All right.
I'd say, I guess not, because I guess when we started, Kobe was still on the team.
Yeah. I just think it's wild that like the Cavs and then the Raptors of all teams won titles before the Lakers. Not that the Lakers didn't win; they did win, but
no, I mean, the Lakers went into a dark place for a few years, and just
anyway,
just to set themselves up for getting LeBron and then eventually getting AD. So
I have one quick question, Zach, and this is again directed towards you before we end the show. We saw this article. I think somebody posted it in the media thread on the boards. The locker room access thing, because there hasn't been any because of COVID. And this guy wrote a piece about how there may not be now because once you lose it, they're not going to give it back. I wanted to get your take on whether you believe that locker room access in pro and college sports is as important as it's made out to be. Like where you get to go right in after the game while everybody's running around naked and shit and ask questions. Do you think it's important? Because I don't think it is. And I've done it. And I don't think it's a big deal. I want to get your thoughts on it.
I do. But here to me, it's not necessarily the immediacy after the game, because you can get the same sort of boilerplate quotes over the Zoom call. That's not the problem. Where you lose the access and where you lose the connection is when you're on the off days or the non time, like the non post game times, when you're able to kind of just go talk to a guy and just kind of get to know him and maybe I'm
not saying like
I'm
not saying no access at all. Like if they're having a workout,
right? But if they're not going to let you go in after the game, then they're not going to let you go in. Like if anything, they would cut off the other time access and they would allow you the post game access. They're not going to give you the off hours access and not give you the post game access. Yeah, I don't see a reason what they would do it.
You would still get post game access. It just wouldn't be in the locker room. It would be similar to like how the NCAA the
NC something or other.
Those guys like they do at the tournament where the coach comes out or a few players come out. You could even request players, I suppose, if you with the press person, whatever they call it, public relations person. But I just don't know that it's necessary. I think that in this day and age where you could set it up outside, it's not necessary to run in and bug these guys right after they get out of the shower. I think that's just its point. I've never liked it, and I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on it. That's all.
I do think it's important, just because, again, like, yes, there's always going to be the star players that you can get out on the podium, but there's plenty of guys that, you know, sometimes you get better stories being told if you go talk to the guy that's not being talked to by everybody else, right? And you're not going to get that if you can't see the guy over there, or if you don't get the opportunity to make those relationships.
I suppose.
I still maintain that that if you're a beat writer for a hockey team, you could just make up your quotes and no one would ever know.
Well, again, I think
dictionary.
There's multitudes to what we're talking about. So, like, in the specific thing about what you're talking about, Greg, like getting this, like the Lakers, for example. Do I need to go into the locker room itself to talk to LeBron, or can I talk to LeBron at a podium? I can just talk to LeBron at a podium and it'd be the same.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not a difference. But if you're talking about like talking to the first guy off the bench or something like that, like I don't know. I think it's a different it's different circumstances for different things. I like, because here's the problem. As soon as they start limiting I think there is a legitimate fear of how when things are back to normal, how much access will we be given back? Because they pretty much cut it all off except for your Zoom interviews or the little bit that you can get if you do have a connection with a guy from before, you know, everything shut down.
Yeah.
But I think it is important to at least have a little bit more open-ended access than just like whenever the team dictates it or whoever the team dictates you to talk to. Because I that's the problem.
See, and like I'm thinking of it too in terms of like baseball, because that's where I had the most of it. And you could just kind of, you know, like hang out on the field during batting practice and stuff and talk to guys. And it's not like with all the other stuff.
But what I'm saying is if this is a situation where the teams would then limit who you talk to at the podiums, they're not going to give you those times where you're just hanging out at batting practice.
Yeah, you
won't get that time.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, this is when you're going to get to talk to them. You don't get to talk to them here anymore. And that's where the problems come.
I see.
You don't want a state-run media sort of situation where the team lets you know what you want to hear, or they tell you who to talk to, and that's it.
I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it.
I'm not so unreasonable. I was like, this is bad. Then I'm like, oh, okay, he's got a point. So there you go.
Well, I mean, if anything,
go ahead, Andy.
The press will always find a way. I think that I'm not too worried about it. I think longer term, you know, I think that the press will adapt because obviously, you know, the name of the game is scoops and inside information and proximity. And if they can't get it one way, they'll find another way to do it. And eventually, I think that once COVID stuff settles down, whether it's this year or 3 years or whatever, I think that generally the press will get their access restored in whatever capacity.
If we're still doing this shit in 3 years, I'm putting a gun in my mouth. That's it. I'm sorry.
Jesus Christ. That's the Greg guarantee. If we're still doing this in 3 years, I will blow my head off live on the radio.
I don't mean the show. I mean the COVID shit. The show I'm happy to do for 3 months.
That's the show. I don't want you to be like, yeah, guys, we're still doing the podcast. It is 2024. And so that means like this, fucking kick off the show with a gunshot. Jesus Christ.
Well, you know, Roddy Piper did say if you're going to kill yourself, do it on TV. It'll make more money.
I will make this promise to the listeners. If it gets to that point where in 3 years we're no better off from COVID than we are now, I will blow my brains out. If I decide to do it, I will do it live on the air. How's that sound? Okay. If I decide to do it.
Fantastic.
That's the Greg guarantee. That's the sign of quality. I want
before
we
go. Oh,
no, sorry.
Which one of us forget it?
I just wanted to shout out. This is nothing to do with. This is more of just like the community again. I wanted to shout out LMU. This really cool map. It's a Google Map thing with all of these. I think it's. I don't know if he's done yet, but it's like every college NCAA Division I thing.
Yes,
and
I saw it.
it's super odd. Is that? I mean, it's not super odd. It's. I feel like it should have a website because he's using Google Maps, but I feel like there should be like a URL that just directs this thing because it's cool. So if he's listening, I hope that LMU you get some variant or this exact thing once it's finished, like available just at like schoolmaps.com or something. Because like this is cool. Like, people should check this out.
Cool. Very cool. Very nice work, Dennis. Very nice. At least he was earlier because he made a couple comments in the thread, so he's here. I think.
I wanna before we call it, I want to point out that I've got the Lightning Panthers game on.
Okay.
And
talk. Sorry, go ahead.
And I just wanted to point it out because I was reminded of the Captain Florida thing that the Panthers have going on.
Captain Florida.
Okay, so
you know how they made their uniforms like army uniforms?
Yeah, they wanted to go for a military look. So
right.
Alexander Barkov, the captain of the Panthers, has a little captain like ribbon on his sleeve above the ribbon that says Florida.
Do we get to salute him now, or do we have to?
Well, he's Captain Florida, so
he's captain of the Florida Regiment.
Where does he rank in comparison to like Florida Man? I think Florida Man's a higher rank.
Well, there's Florida Man, Captain Florida, and then there's Captain Citrus.
Okay. So just so I know the proper protocol when I'm there again, so that I know who to salute.
Well, Captain Citrus is a superhero made to promote the citrus industry in Florida. The state of Florida paid Marvel $1 million to create him.
Okay.
So there you go. Those are your 3 Florida superheroes.
All right.
There's your little captain badge there. So.
Yeah, because that it's. I just wanted to point that out because I had forgotten that stupid thing existed.
It's 2-0 Panthers still, right? In a second.
Yes.
I'm gonna say go Panthers. Because I'm always for the underdog, and I don't know if they're the underdog
or undercat, as it were.
Undercat, exactly.
Well, you have Zach. I stole your thunder there with.
When do the playoffs start? Pretty soon, right?
Yes.
Next week.
Oh,
yeah. The season. Because of the late COVID outbreaks in Canada, specifically with like the Canucks, the season for the North Division got extended like through the end of this.
Aren't the Canucks like technically? I think I saw this posted on the boards that they're like technically still alive because they have so many games in hand.
Yeah, the Scotiabank North needs to. They need to run out their slate of Canucks games before the final playoff seed
the Canucks have 7 games left, and they're currently 14 points out. So they would have to win the rest of their games.
Well, come on, now we know that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah.
Is this where we just call it early? Be like, Vancouver, come on.
It's like when you're mathematically still alive for a playoff spot. It's like you're not really. It's not. You're not.
Montreal's going to snag that one.
We're going to have Toronto, Montreal, and I'm looking forward to that.
That's going to be awesome. Are we going to be able to see that here in the U.S.?
All the games will be on TV.
By the way,
NBC's contract.
The really cool thing about this is that it'll be the first time since 1979 that the Canadians have played the Maple Leafs in the playoffs.
Or the Habs could win a couple games and Winnipeg could lose a couple and screw up the whole thing. But
don't do that. Anyway, all right.
But speaking of the NHL and TV broadcasting, Wayne Gretzky looks like he's going to go to TNT for Inside the NHL.
I don't think this is going to work out well.
$5 million a year as recruited by Charles Barkley.
Wayne Gretzky
$2 million, and he decided. Well, he hasn't decided officially yet, but it was ESPN offering $2 million and TNT's offering $5 million.
Yeah.
So
look, Wayne Gretzky, greatest hockey player of all time. He wasn't exactly a charismatic dude.
No, remember Joe Montana tried to do the NFL pregame one time, and it was a disaster. Same thing here. They're the same guy. I mean, basically. As far as personalities go,
right?
No. They both do Skechers?
I think so.
Oh well,
yeah.
Both great. I mean, Gretzky. I won't even debate the fact that he's the greatest player of all time. There's just no argument.
There is no argument.
So, but not the most personal. I mean, he's a personable guy. He's just not very fucking interesting.
Well, no. It's actually hilarious. In 2002, he gave this speech about how he was pissed off at the way, the media was treating Team Canada, and how Canada was kind of getting, disrespected by, the players, by some of the other teams. And he gave this speech, or, to the media when they were asking him questions. And in Canada, we were all like, "Oh, Wayne really unloaded on him," and then like Americans are like, "That's the most polite like outburst I've ever seen."
I've just seen a couple articles saying like, will Gretzky be the NHL's Barkley? It's like, no,
I don't know. I don't know who the NHL's Barkley is, but it's not Gretzky.
Well, they wanted it to be Jeremy Roenick, and that was
and then that ended poorly.
If you want Charles Barkley, hire Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley apparently likes hockey, so he could probably talk about it, somewhat informed.
He'll show he'll show up on the broadcast occasionally and say a couple fun words. It's like he's not. You don't want him as an analyst for hockey, which is what they would be hiring Gretzky to do.
No, but
and again, it would be the same thing as why he wouldn't be a good coach.
Yeah,
he can't break down plays because he just did shit.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you break that down for us, Wayne? It's like, I don't know. Back when I was playing, I just kind of saw 3 plays ahead and did it.
Right. He wouldn't be going like, well, here's what happened. He'd be like, I don't understand how the fuck they missed this thing over here. To be like, oh shit, nobody else even saw that. That's what he would be doing.
Yeah, but maybe that'd be great too, to be like, oh. Damn.
Yeah, but
Wayne Gretzky explains the subtleties of his genius or something.
and you go, yeah, that's great, Wayne, except no one else can fucking do that except you. That's, you know what I mean?
Maybe he would be useful to break down Connor McDavid. Just to be like, yeah, he's on the
what would that be? The McDavid Gretzky Oilers corner on TNT?
Sure. Well, I don't know if you guys saw this, but when the deal was officially announced for the NHL on TNT, they put up a graphic on the NBA broadcast, and it was the graphic had Alexander Ovechkin, and then it had a Edmonton Oilers captain. It wasn't Connor McDavid.
No,
it was Andrew Ference.
Yes.
Who hadn't played in the league in 6 years.
Oh, and that promotional thing they put out.
Yeah. What did you?
I put out. I used like the old TNT logo, an NHL logo that wasn't even real, and a picture from the movie Youngblood. It was like
it was like a picture from Youngblood, the old TNT logo, and then like an NHL patch.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
maybe the great one will be on your TV screens next season. Which also, by the way, I've watched a little bit more ESPN over the weekend. They're talking a lot more about hockey. Wonder why?
Oh, who would have thought?
Oh wow! What a shocker, huh?
Yeah.
What a shocker. Yeah. Anyway, is that it, boys?
I think that's it.
All righty. Well, then we will call it a night.
Go Leafs, go! Once we finally get through the Vancouver gauntlet.
And go Panthers, just because. I don't know why.
Who will be my team justice? Whoever plays Vegas. Whoever plays Vegas.
Yeah, I got to pick a team too. This is weird for me to say. The first time in 4 years the Jackets haven't made the playoffs. Yeah. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you could root for somebody else in the Discover Central, or maybe you could find yourself a fan of someone in the Mass Mutual East.
I will do some research on that. I'll get back to you on next week's show and let you know where I'm going to go with that. I'll pick one out of each. I'll pick a Canadian team and one from the East and one from the West, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
The playoffs will be odd.
Yeah,
I guess go Panthers because the Lightning really stick in my craw. So
all right.
Yeah. Nothing. I'm good. I'm done.
Bring the Rats back.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever fine podcasting is sold. You can also find us on YouTube. We will see you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.